St. Clair River. Get some more parts. Coming back on the newer bridge. Okay, got the new valve springs, or collars, new valve spring collars from Andrews. I think these were $23. A couple things I want to check. First of all, see if the inner spring is going to fit, which it does. Fits nicely over this inner collar here. These won't fit on the stock collar that I have. And then the other measurement I want to take is how thin this is up here compared to the stock one, which is here. Maybe I'll see, compare the whole thing first. Need some glasses on. So this is Desmo 3. Let me get some more light on this. Whoop. Let me get some better glasses on. These ones are a little bit more magnifying. These are like a 1 times. I think these are like a 1.5 or 2 times. Okay, let's see if I can see better here. Yeah, Desmo 3, and then I've got a 50 plus 50 plus 15, 65. So Desmo 365. Oh, this measurement doesn't mean too much because this little inner part could be as long as you want, really. But here it's Desmo 425 plus 38. Because what I'm looking for here is, you know, these springs are a lot longer than the stock springs. So, because the stock springs have been squeezed for so long, they're stuck down like that now. And the more room there is for this to squish, the better they work. You don't want to use a spring that's compacted all the way down to here and then it has to move a little bit, right? So the more free play you have, the better they work. So they said these Andrews collars are 50 thou thinner, so you get a little bit more action in the spring. So this one here is 0.3, almost 2.5 exactly. I'd say Desmo 85 about. And this one here is about 1.5. 75 plus 10 is 85. Desmo 8.5. Desmo 1.10. Not even. 1.8. It's not 50 thou thinner, that's for sure. But it is thinner. Okay, I got everything I need to put it together. My furnace is making lots of noise right now. Hopefully it'll shut down in a minute. So put a little bit of motor oil in here. Little coating of oil on there. This is the little cup that holds the spring on the bottom. Just make sure it's nice and clean. Oh my God. Let's see something here. Let me see how this fits with the stock one. Oh my God. So this is the cup that holds the spring at the bottom. Fits nice in there. This is the stock spring. This is the Andrews spring. You gotta be kidding me, come on. Never thought that was gonna be an issue, I didn't even check it. I thought the springs looked a little fatter. Let me think on this. What's going on here is, God is testing me in every way. The motorcycle gods of the world. This head came with this lower holding collar for the original stock springs right here. That's how I took it apart, just like that, with, I think I threw the other collar. Yeah, I've got the other collar, I threw it over there already. But that's the way that came, with the original collar. And I believe somebody's changed this. This is not stock, I'm thinking. There's something not right about this. First of all, it's got this hollowed out part on the bottom here, like to go over an embossing. You know, I can't remember the old shovel heads, if they were like that or not, I don't know. It's been too long. And this washer was underneath it, and you can see how the washer's perforated a little bit. There's little lines in it, and maybe for friction. Hey, there is some letters on here. It says this side up. Yeah, this side up. It's got a part number on there, 305. Now my other head, this is luckily I've got a spare head here off another engine, and I took the valve springs and collar off of this and the lower collar. It all fits beautifully into this one. So this was the lower collar on that other head compared to this one. Look at the difference. This one's sitting up at 1/8 of an inch, so that's probably why damaged those other springs are so compressed, because it's holding it up off of the base here, off of the base by at least 1/8 of an inch. And the Andrew springs don't fit inside this thing, so we'll be sitting up even higher, like more than an eighth of an inch now, plus that eighth of an inch on the bottom. That'd be a quarter of an inch. It'd be holding this thing off of the bottom of the head in here. That's just not right. So I also got the parts book here. The whole book's coming apart, but I don't know if you can see in there. But there's the lower collar right there. There's no washer under it, nothing. Shows the guide, the collar, the seal, the two springs, and then the top one. Doesn't show anything like that collar. So I'm throwing these out. I'll hang on to them for something, but I don't know what the hell. They don't fit right. They don't work. This is cut out for a reason. That's to go over an embossment. So get rid of that. I'm getting rid of that. I'm going to take these lower collars out of the other one. Put that in there. Now, this is the old piece of shit spring. Let me get these springs out of here. That's probably what damaged all these springs. They were compressed way too tight. Okay, so now we're back on track. Inner spring fits over that nice. That goes down there. Inner spring there. Outer spring fits on nice now. Put the Andrews. Well, this is what I wanted to compare though, was the collars. Or the collar locks. I got two types, so I'm gonna try them. Okay, I clamped it into vise. Got some cardboard in there. Fought with that, got that in there. Now I use these little lock collars from that from this bike. The heads, the original ones out of this one here. And to me, they look too big. They're sitting up. And this is the bike. This is, so far everything's been wrong on this bike, right? Those lower collars were wrong. The springs were compressed, damaged. And now this is a stock head here. Look at how far the little lock collars go right down in there. They're locked in there nice. And so I've got the keepers off of this one. I'm going to put the next spring in with these keepers and then compare the two of them. I don't trust these ones now. Don't trust them. Okay. And also these Andrews springs didn't fit with that top collar that came with this engine, and it says they should. And they do fit with these collars, which are supposed to be stock as well too. So I got a feeling these collars and spacers and everything might have been off a shovel head or something, because they don't work on this bike. So let's get it all fixed right now. I'm going to put those keepers on and we'll compare them. I'm just clamping this lightly on here. I put a little bit of anti-seize on these keepers just to make them sticky so they don't go flying off. Safety glasses, safety glasses, safety glasses. With these springs being so much longer, I gotta really compress it. It's tricky. It can shoot out like a bullet. not for the faint of heart, because this is one of the trickier ones I've ever done. It's because those springs are under so much pressure. There. And now I gotta turn the screw in over here a bit. If it slips off, oh, like it's pretty fucking slippery. Yep, I'm gonna release the pressure right now. Bastard. Without that shooting over everywhere. It's so slippery on there. Right there. Don't know if I got it compressed enough to get these keepers in there. I think so. There's one. I don't think I got it compressed to get this one in. Very close. Sometimes you gotta wiggle, push the spring over a little bit to get it in there. Oh, I push it like that with the screwdriver. It should be in there. Okay. I put my body in front of it so if the springs or anything shoots out, you know, it's not gonna go far. Okay. Okay. You're supposed to do is give it a little tap with the hammer to seat it a little bit, but I'll just let you look at this first. You know, that other one couldn't have been together right. Thank God I took that thing apart. Look at the difference here. This is the new head here. I got the valve springs off of the old head. Gonna use the keepers off them. And I'll have to find some keepers to put this head back together when I'm at that point, but I think it's Miller time. This is Troll and Toll from the Refined Fool Brewing Company. A cream ale, 5% alcohol. The only thing is this is just about 2 liters of beer, 1.8. Hopefully this one isn't frozen. It's warmed up, it's only -1 now. It was -7 or 8 this morning. We got a little bit of snow the other day there. Not like Newfoundland. The reason why I came outside is I heard somebody yelling. We're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Who the hell's yelling? Huh. Strange. We got no kids in our neighborhood. Man's voice I heard yelling. Okay, put these valves in here. Last one. the camera's not in the way. I got my safety glasses on. Oh, that's a little bit too far compressed, but let's try it. Lock that baby in there. Put a little bit of anti-seize on there just to hold it in place, a little bit of grease. Push this over a little bit. Thought I'd slip it off. There. Okay. Okay. Those went in pretty good. It's a little harder when you've got the valve compression tool all the way out to hold the collar on and put it in, because that spring is that little bit extra longer. You're compressing it like a ½ inch more than normal. Okay, those are on there. I made a little ding in the black paint on the other one, just a little bit of to touch up. That's why I like to do this all ahead of time before I paint it, but I didn't want to wait. I didn't want to wait for the collars and then have to paint it and then wait another day or two. So I'm ready to go right now. Wow, that head was put together all wrong. I don't know what somebody did with that. I gotta be a psychic detective working on these things sometimes to know what other people have done. It's good to take it all apart and see what they've done. The only thing is now, I know the camshaft, I know the lifters, I know the followers, I know everything's going to be good on the top end. The cylinders, pistons look good, rings look good. Everything here looks good. But, and I don't think they can screw it up, but that crank's been apart. Those crankcases have been split. I see orange RTV around it. Why would they ever, you know, this is a low miles engine, I can tell. Why would they ever split those cases? What did they do? Like, why would you ever split a set of Harley cases? You know, maybe a bearing, or you can change the seals from the outside, but you should split them. But I can't see the main bearing going. Why would anybody ever want to split these cases? And if they did split them, what did they do? Did they install new bearings? Did they shim it properly? So that's the only question mark with this engine that I don't know. I'm going to pull the primary side off and probably the clutch, everything over there. Well, I'm going to probably change that nylon slipper in there. They got to be changed. I'll flush it all out, have a look over there, just see if they did anything over there. But now that I've seen the kind of shabby work done here, I'm a little concerned about the crankshaft, although I don't know how they could screw it up. Like, how do you screw that up? It's pretty simple. You know, and I think anybody took it apart would, if it had a leak and they're resealing it, you know, that maybe they didn't change the bearings and didn't change the shimming and put it back together properly. I can only hope. I can only hope. Okay, I'm going to put the top end together. This gasket kit that I got, this engine gasket kit, I think it was like $48 US delivered, free shipping, 46, 48 bucks. And to me, it looks like a great gasket kit. It comes with, you know, double gaskets. Like I've got come with 2 sets of head gaskets. These blue ones, which have a steel insert in here as well too. And then these look like the old asbestos type with a steel insert. You know, you get 2 sets of head gaskets. I don't know which one's better than the other. I'm familiar with these ones. I've used them many times. They're almost like a tin foil type, but I know there's asbestos in there. And then this is a blue hard one here. It's got a metal ring on the inside. It looks good too, but I'm going to stick with this one. I'm familiar with it. There's also a third type, which is the multi-layer steel, little thin layers of steel. And if you're using that one, you don't put the O-rings back on up here, which I'm going to put on right now. Chair to there. Crank you up a little bit here. Yeah, there's 2 O-rings that go on here if you're using the paper style head gasket. But I think I'm gonna stick with this one. I'm gonna try it. Some of these are marked up or down. It's called Reliant Gasket Engine Component Supply. They make gaskets for automotive, light, heavyweight, marine, industrial, Harley Davidson. And they're on eBay. I think it's the cheapest gasket set out there, but they look good to me. It looks the same as the original ones. So this gasket I'm going to use here, there's a bit of a ridge on the top. I'm going to put that as top. I don't know, they're not marked top or bottom. Some gaskets are marked top or bottom, these ones aren't. Put this one back. I've been looking around for 15-20 minutes for this 1/2-inch 12-point socket. Meanwhile, sucking back on that beer because I can't find it. Getting a little jig on there. Okay, so I'm gonna put this Harley head on. They're marked front and rear, so you can't screw that up. And, I gotta make sure that I'm going to be able to get at those push rods before I bolt this down too tightly. I want to make sure those push rods are going to work. Oh, my knees. Fuck. I'm getting old. My left knee's been buckling on me the last week. I don't know if it's because I got a pinched nerve in my back or what. Okay, I'm going to put a couple of these bolts in loosely here. So these Harleys, it looks like a bolt, but it's actually a big nut. You're supposed to oil them up a little bit. Don't pour oil into them and put them on, because then you get a hydraulic lock. And are these the ones I just did? I'm hoping so. Yeah, I blew them out after I oiled them. These look pretty clean. before I go too far, like I say, I want to make sure these push rods are going to fit in there. Pretty sure they are. Well, I don't even have the rocker box on yet, so I may as well wait till I get this torque down, because I can always stick them in before I put the rocker box on. Okay, let's continue on with this. So I put a little bit of oil in there, then I sprayed a little bit of PB Blaster penetrating oil, then I blew it all out. It's supposed to be lubed up. So they number the studs 1 to 4. Let me just double check. Pretty sure it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me just double check here. Just like I said, 1 up here, 2 here, 3, 4. Here it's the other way around. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first torque is 7 to 9 pounds. I'm going to set it at 9. The second round is 11 to 14. I'm going to set it at 14. The reason is when I was taught, like in 1981, things may have changed. Let me just snug them all up first before I even get torquing in it. Which every time you take a cylinder head off, or anything that's torqued, you're supposed to add 3% every time you take it off. So this has been a part before. So from the factory, whatever the torque came with, let's say it was 10%, let's say it was 100 pounds. You would add 103 pounds the next time around. And then the next time 106, and then 109. So I'm taking the higher end of the torques because this thing's obviously been off once or twice before. Okay, I'm going to start here. This is 9 pounds. Right there. 9 pounds. Nine foot-pounds. Now we're going to 14. Same order. Let me just go around it one more time. Check this front one here. Okay, so now what it says is I need to turn it 90 degrees. So if it's sitting here, I need to turn it like this. So I'm going to go to the other side and do that. At least for these two. So if I start it, get this fucking horn or thing back out of the way here. I'm going to start it right here at the 90 mark and then pull it 90 degrees. Right there. Same with this one. Right there, so a little past the 90 mark. Right there. 2, 3, 4. So, gonna start there, should end up right here. Right there. Starting right there, so 90's right here. Right there. That's it. That one's done. I haven't taken the back cylinder off yet to put the base gasket on, so we're not doing that. I'll finish the front cylinder. This kit comes with the steel valve train gasket here. I just washed all this head off here. This head, it's not a head, it's the followers, pushrod followers, and goes like that. There's 2 Allen heads in the corner, they got little washers on them. Put them in to get lined up. There you go. My furnace motor's pretty noisy. Okay, those 2 there. Now let me see if these are going to fit in there. Lots of room. Lots of room to get those in and out. I've got the crankshaft and cam positioned, so these are at their lowest setting. Lots of room to get those in there. 2 more 7/16 bolts in the center. I'm going to torque down this tappet cover, and there's 1/4" bolts and there's 5/16 bolts in here, and you see a lot of cylinder heads on engines too with 2 different size of bolts. It could be 1/2 inch down to 1/4 inch, and I actually just watched a guy that rebuilds Harleys, and he torqued down these little 1/4 inch ones first, and then he went around to the big bolts. The only problem with that I see is these little 1/4 inch bolts, you know, the torque is I think 10 to 13, and so let's say you torque down all the little light torques first, and then you go and torque down the bigger, heavier torque, especially on a head bolt where they have 2 different size bolts. Like a lot of Yamaha, Suzuki, and Honda engines have, you know, big head bolts, and then they always have like 2 or 3 little bolts around the spark plugs that are only 6mm. And if you torque those ones down first, and then you torque down the big heavy bolts, well, these big heavier bolts are torquing down, you know, maybe 60, 40, 60, 80 foot-pounds, and they're going to compress that head gasket a lot more than these little 1/4 inch bolts. So now you torque down these little ones first, and you think you're done, and now you've torqued down the big head bolts, and that head bolt's going to squish that gasket even more. Now these little 1/4 inch ones are going to be all loose, or the 6mm ones on a Honda or Suzuki. That's my theory. So what I do is I just like to snug up all these, the 1/4 inch ones, and I'm going to start on the 5/16 ones, because it's going to do the most damage to that gasket. It's going to compress it the most. That's my theory. I'm sticking to it. But I did just see a guy rebuild a Harley and torque all the little ones first. I'm going to need a short 1/2 inch one here too. can't find a pattern for these, but I'm going to do it the same as the head basically. Oh yeah, let's set this here to the 5/16 ones are 13 to 15 foot-pounds. I'm going to set it for 15. I'm going to set it for the higher end because it's been off before. Let me just double check that. 15 to 18 foot-pounds. I'm going to set it for 18. I'm just going to do this in a crisscross. First I'm just going to snug it up. Okay, let's start on this one. Right here. This one. This one. Okay, then I'm going to do the three inside ones. And they are 13, I believe, 11 to 13, 10 to 13, so I'm going to set them for 13. Just go around and make sure they're snugged a little bit. This one here. This one here. Double check them. Now the two outside too. I just use a little bit of gasket goop to hold things in place. Just a couple drops. One on either side here. One drop in the four corners of that gasket, because these rubber gaskets, they get out around in the packaging and they curl up. So just a little dab to hold it in place. And when you clamp her down, you can always wipe it off. But you want to make sure that gasket's seated in there good all the way around. So a little bit of that goop kind of holds it in place for you. We'll get the next cover on. Just going to put a little dab in the corners. Makes my job easier. I got a little bit on the sides. We'll just wipe it off later. A little bit of WD-40 or something. So that one's glued in. This one's glued in. Like I said, just a little dab to hold it all in place. It's just safer. There's that one. And I'll do the last one. Just kind of wiped it off. I got the center gasket in. Put it the right way. I'm I went out and got some stainless steel washers. The other ones are pretty getting pretty rusty. And this kit here that I got from these guys from Reliant Gasket comes with two different types of washers. It comes with the rubber washers or copper washers, whichever one you want to use. And there was copper on this bike when I took it apart and it wasn't leaking, but I tend to like rubber because it's a little bit more flexible, so I think I'm going to go with the rubber ones. And I got some new stainless steel washers, so I'll put that on there. There's a third type, that's the washer, a washer with a rubber insert built into the washer, and those work really good. You see them on oil drain plugs a lot. I'm going to torque these to the same because they're 1/4 inch, so I'm going to torque them to 10 to 13 foot-pounds. Like I said, there's two different sizes, push rods. Just a slight difference in height there. And the shorter one's the intake. Gotta put the tubes all on at the same time. I put all new O-rings on the tubes. There's a large O-ring, skinny one on the bottom there, big fat one on the top, and then there's one on the inside here. That was the whole reason I took this thing apart, was because of this push rod was in the wrong hole. So when I measured these threads per inch on these push rods in an earlier video, it was like a 0.8 of a millimeter, but that translates to 32 threads per inch. With these S&S lifters, you want 4 complete turns out. Okay, it's just touching there right now, like that. I'm just going to leave it like that for right now. Make sure I've got the longer push rod here. This is the longer one. Put it in the tube. Made it too long. Okay. Put a little oil on the followers and lifters and everything when you put her together. Push rods, assembly lube. Before you put your push rods in, make sure you put these in. I gotta take them out, put that in first. That sits below the O-ring on the bottom. There's two of them on the bottom. I gotta pull them out. Too much beer. Okay, we're gonna set these push rods. Like I say, I'm not sure if these S&S lifters have the LT shimmin or not, which makes them a solid lifter or semi-solid lifter. So how you're supposed to do that is, I've got this cam set so the lobes are at the lowest point for these push rods, and I've just turned this nut down. I've taken all the free play out of the lifter right there, right there. I'm gonna put a little bit of marker on this flat right here. my wrench. Should be 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. And here I've got a 7mm. This stud on this push rod is it's got a flat side on it. Should have. Did on the other one. Yeah, right there. There's a flat side on it. So now I got all the free play out. So I'm going to turn this. I'm going to tighten up the push rod, push it so it spreads apart. 4 full turns, which is 24 flats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's at the front again. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Now I'm going to wait 20 minutes to a half an hour, and right now the lifter, the valve's pushed open, and it's got a lot of pressure on that lifter, so it should be bleeding out that oil in there. I could do the other one at the same time, which I probably will. And we'll know in about 20 minutes and half an hour if these are, if they've got the shim in there or not. Otherwise, there's 2 different settings from that point on. So let's check this one here. Right there. Okay, I'm going to do the same with the other one. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes, and both of these push rods I can turn with my fingers now, so that's it. They're set. I just got to lock them up. If I couldn't turn them, then that means that LT spacer, solid lifter spacer that SNS sells would have been inside the lifter, and I would have had to turn, keep loosening it until I can feel the valve collapse, the spring close, and then the valve will become loose at that point. As soon as it comes loose, that very instant, then you turn it 6 flats, 1 turn. But right now I'm lucky. It's because I want a hydraulic. I don't want solids in there. They're a little bit clackier and louder, so I'm going to tighten this up right there. 2 1/2-inch wrenches. And I'm all set to go. I'm just on the back cylinder here. Scraped off the old paper gasket, put the new steel gasket on. I'm just on the verge of putting that cylinder back on. I'm going to tighten these up, and that's it. Tricks to doing this back cylinder. You got to take the ignition switch out, because it's welded to the frame here, to get the cylinder off. The cylinder hits it, so you got to pull that off. I loosened off this clutch cable bracket right here. I just moved it back, undid the 2 bolts, and I pushed it back and locked it back in with this bolt, just so that that cable's out of the way when I'm putting that cylinder back on. So that's another little trick. And there's one more. What is it? Yeah, you got these 2 bolts. You got to put these 2 bolts in the tappet cover in first. Yeah, you can't put these bolts in later because the frame's in the way, so you got to put them in right now. And that's the trick to that. What I like to do is put these 2 outside bolts in to get everything lined up first, which I think I am. I think I got that gasket there. Yeah, got that gasket there. That started there. Just get them all started loose before you do anything. Okay, and the rest is the same as the front cylinder. I'll just finish this one up. Got it all back together. Started to put the S&S intake on, and push rods were all adjusted. They bled down nice. I still got to set the ignition timing there now. Now that I got the top end back together, I still got it in top gear. I can roll the engine over and get it so the light comes on. I got to put the battery in to do that. I got the front and back tire in, so I'm going to be changing those tires and checking the wheel bearings, maybe repack them or replace them. And something else I was going to do to this bike. Yeah, the plastic primary chain tensioner, if I replace that. There was something else. Oh, I'm going to one of these 5-gallon tanks up here, I'm going to see if I can modify it to fit this bike, get it painted the same color, and so if I want to go on a long cruise, at least I got a 5-gallon tank and not the little 3-gallon tank or 3.5-gallon they come with. That's it for this video today. Couple more little things. I'll film everything. Oh, I got to clean that S&S carburetor out, bolt that on. That thing was all full of water and old gas, so I got to clean that up and put that back together. And we'll try to fire that bike up there soon. Thanks for watching.